Hey guys, thanks for coming back for another video. Today we're doing a swatch test on different condiments that I pulled out of the refrigerator. I thought it might be kind of cool to do a painting out of ketchup and mustard. And while I was in there digging around, I pulled out some other things that I'd test before diving on in. So here we've got some ranch. Good old ranch dressing. Giving that a little wipe on the board there. Did not do too much. Pretty much just blended right on into the page here. Being very careful to keep my brushes as clean as possible, as obviously they're all perishable and I don't want my brushes to get super gross and nasty. Next up we've got some Italian dressing. Getting that on the brush. Making sure I do some labeling to document my research first. Italian dressing, or Thousand Island dressing, I'm sorry, that one's Thousand Island. That's the superior dressing. Not too impressive, very light pigment on that one too, but definitely a step up from the ranch. Doing a couple dabs more just to test its viscosity. Most of these pigments are a little bit on the oily side. Alright, now we're moving along to some hot sauce. There again, fairly translucent, definitely a step up from the ranch, and probably a step up from the Thousand Island dressing. I labeled it ranch there, but it was Thousand Island. Now we've got some spicy mustard. A little bit more texture going on in this. Slightly more workable pigment. But dealing with all the extra texture inside of the mustard probably wouldn't be super ideal. It'd be kind of like working with coffee grounds, and that wouldn't be super great. Alright, now we've got another sauce here. This is ketchup, which I thought for sure this would be a really standout bold color, but it was actually one of the weaker ones, so I was kind of disappointed with that. But later, maybe it would depend on the brand of ketchup. This is just a pretty cheap generic one. But yeah, definitely disappointed on that. I was trying to kind of layer it on a little bit extra there to see, because I thought for sure ketchup and mustard would be two really bold colors that you can mix together and make some different shades of oranges. Could make for a tasty, interesting piece. Now we've got good old-fashioned yellow mustard. This is probably, hands down, the best pigment and one of the thicker of all the other condiments in there. So it was the closest to a paint option. So I was probably the most impressed with that one. Doing another test over there just to kind of see. Trying to do a gradient test. Just kind of shade it out a little bit. Yeah, you definitely get a nice range of darks to lights with the yellow mustard. Alright, now this one was a barbecue sauce. There again, kind of in the middle in terms of results. Not quite as disappointing as others. but not quite as good as the yellow mustard either. Was able to get a little bit of a gradient in there, but kind of gives off that oily texture as well. Alright, and last but not least, we've got Hershey's chocolate syrup. Thought that might be a nice darker pigment that you could mix in with the other ones to make them all dark. And it wasn't the worst. There again, kind of mediocre results. Obviously the ranch was a little bit more disappointing, but that's kind of expected since it was more of a pure white liquid. You could possibly do some light washes with the Hershey syrup and some water. Alright, now we're taking the ranch again, just trying to see if we can get any kind of blending going on. So far it's actually not going too bad with the Hershey syrup. Granted, this paper that I was working on was not the most beneficial, as you can see, especially on the mustard yellow on the far right. It was really starting to bubble up and warp, kind of distort the paper, because I was all out of my better paper. But for just a swatch test, it did the job just fine. Yeah, just kind of going around here with the ranch again on my other swatches, just seeing if anything wants to blend. Now these ones on the top are a little bit more dry already, so naturally they're not going to blend as well, but I pretty much thought the chocolate syrup and the ranch worked out pretty well. Alright, so the ketchup and the mayo was not too bad. That blended alright. By this point in the experiment, this paper was getting a little stinky with all the different weird smells mixing together, and that mixing cleaning water wasn't doing too great either. But you know what, you gotta do what you gotta do. And as expected, with the yellow mustard and the ranch, it was working pretty good there. I said mayo earlier. You know what I meant with the ranch. Now I'm just trying to natively mix things on the palette with the ranch dressing a little bit there. With the red sauce, and yeah, there again, it's okay. The idea, I guess one of the ideas here, again, as inspiration, was if you guys ever follow Arby's on Facebook and Instagram, they'll do some kind of interesting drawings and paintings with ketchup and stuff like that, and really intricate kind of origami sculptures with some of their boxes and packagings. So I thought, okay, I'll give that a shot and take that up a notch with all these other things as well. But I think the difference was they weren't really trying to paint with the ketchup. They were just kind of layering it on pretty thick and treating it as just a straight line, as opposed to trying to blend it and use it as a pigment. So yeah, that was about it. I'd just go on further to do some more blending and tests after that, but ultimately, condiments aren't the best painting material. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.